I don't want top chat. I want live chat. I don't know why you do that, YouTube. It's very annoying.
A little bit. Just a teensy bit.
All right. I'm waiting to make sure that we're actually live.
It says live. I have a live.
I have two waiting. What are you doing?
And I have a
There
live.
We are.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna make sure that that's muted just in case anybody wants. And let's get started.
Yeah.
10 across the board. COL Drag Race.
Hey, kitty girls, it's May 7th, 2018. Welcome to Cubs Out Loud Drag Race T-Time. It's season 10, episode number 7, also known as Snatch Game.
Yay!
I could not get the sound clip of the music for their Snatch Game because it's like a unique game show kind of thing. So something I was trying to work on, but I couldn't get that together. That's okay. So our apologies for being a little tardy to the party tonight. It was not intended, but Damon and I are here. We're going to discuss the episode because holy cow, people got things to say.
Yes.
At least according to our entourage for drag race discussion on Telegram. People got lots of things to say.
This is an episode. It's always an episode. And it's definitely, there's a lot going on. A lot.
Well, let's jump into it, shall we? All right, so it's Snatch Game week, but before that, let's rewind it a little. We had a mini challenge, we had a maxi challenge, and then we had a runway. Mini challenge. Reading is fundamental, as Rue likes to say. Library is open.
Yes.
So we had that happen. Then we went to the maxi challenge, which was Snatch Game. So everybody got to come with a celebrity impersonation. Notably, it seemed that all the queens had 2 personalities ready, which I think is a lesson that somehow has been learned or they've been prompted to bring to. So Rue could help tell them which one they should do. I don't know. And then we get into the runway, which I'm super excited to talk about. We'll get to that in a little bit. They did a tribute to the Divine Miss M. It was Mermaid Fantasy. Yeah. And they all got wheeled out in wheelchairs, which is crazy. Obviously, straight for Bette Midler. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You got that. But Damon, so what are your thoughts on the episode? And I know there's 3 sections to cover. So
yeah. So I'm surprised. Like I wrote down pretty simply, I'm surprised by those that didn't shine and those that did. So coming into Snatch Game, you always have an expectation. It's usually the episode. Like it shows the queens that can cut on a fly, because they almost always do the reading and the Snatch Game kind of in the same episode, usually, kind of off and on. And it always kind of falls into this, like, so who can be funny, who can give spill tea, who can crack the jokes, and who can like make things very like exciting and fun and interesting. And I was honestly blown away by several of the reads. Not blown away by the reads. I was blown away by some of the Snatch Game performances. The one that surprised me the most was Aquaria as her Melania Trump, impersonation kind of thing. She played to her strengths. She's a look queen. And Melania has a very look to her. And she did, but on top of that, she was able to do a lot of fun little jokes that just kept coming. And as we've heard in like Audra McDonald, who was as a guest, Judge, I am humbled. I am in awe of Miss Audra. But she says like she couldn't keep her eyes off her, and even while other characters were interacting with her, Melania, she was still Melania. Like, and that I think shows a lot of forethought, which I think Aquaria is. I think better. She thinks a lot. Like they commented in the workroom that she seems to like pause and she thinks before she says something, and she tells them that she knows that in this social media world that the things you say can come back and bite you. So she always takes some time to think about what she's doing. So I have a feeling she probably had Melania fleshed out from beginning to end. And if not, she had like little things that she can do. She had things that she can probably say, and those work really well for her. The ones my problem was the ones that I felt could have signed who didn't. And one of those, unfortunately, is Monique Hart. Monique has been in every confessional and what have you, has been cracking me up. She always has something to say. She always has some witty banter. She always knows. She's always on point. When she's like on, she's on. But her character, Maxine Waters, just floundered like really, really badly. Like to the point where it was hard to watch. Her and Asia were like two of the people for me that became like hard to watch. As someone who loves live theater and loves improv and enjoys all of that going on, those were the things that I love when someone is on and they're doing stuff. And I thought Monique had it. Like Monique would have had it, and she chose. I was like, oh, she's doing Maxine Waters. Okay, she's going with this character that kind of, she can do a whole lot of things that you can go with that, and she just didn't.
Yeah,
and it showed.
Well, and like Drew says, it was flat. Like it for a Maxine Waters, you didn't deliver the sassiness really a whole lot. Like Maxine she's Auntie Maxine. She's an older Black woman who puts up with nothing. Like, and so she had a couple of okay things, and her angle about like being against Trump, like cute little placard signs, like that was a thing. What I found interesting though was Melania Trump being another person on the Snatch Game. I was like, oh, that's a little awkward, but maybe not. Like they could kind of play off each other, and I don't really think that worked.
It didn't go the way it should have.
Yeah, and like so Ginger T-Time said, and Monique is so funny. What happened? And I think she had an idea, she just didn't vet it. She didn't practice it. Like that's the thing that we've determined. Rarely can you pull something out of your ass and be okay with it on Snatch Game.
Like Asia's Beyonce for me was awful. It had nothing to do to, it gave nothing to me of Beyonce. She could have just called herself Precious's mother. Like I forget what it was, whoever her name was. I can't remember her name. Monique, duh, Damon. Monique. That Stacey Lane Matthews. God damn it. I mean, Stacey Lane Matthews did Monique but she was Monique as Precious, his mother from the movie Precious. And that's what I got from her, like this angry, like mother, you know, and I'm like, what is all this coming from? Like Beyonce has never, I mean, the Beyonce that we see, granted, you know, hasn't, I don't think has ever been like angry, bitter, like billionaire kind of thing. She was never, I never saw that. And it just came, like they said, the judges said it came off as mean. And that's what it was. It came off as mean. And I get what maybe you were trying to do, but you chose the wrong person to do it as. Like you put Beyonce and you put like mean, like mother, and those two don't match for me. If you had been someone else and kept a lot of that same stuff, I might have gotten it. But when you throw Beyonce there, yeah, it kind of, it doesn't work.
Yeah. And like, I think Monique Hart says in Confessional, we don't know a lot about Beyonce. Like, her outward personality is not one that we're very familiar with outside of performing. So we don't really get to see and know her like as a real person on a day-to-day and how all that stuff works. So yeah, it was not necessarily very good. So for me in this particular episode, first I want to say reading is I'm sorry, but I thought the reading was weak. I thought it was a little lackluster. I thought it was a little boring. There was only one like zing, and I mean like death drop zing when they came for Miss Cracker.
Yes.
And is it Monique? I think she reads her.
Monet.
Oh, sorry, Monet Exchange. And right, because she's another New York queen, which is why it was such a zinger. And she basically, you know, read her for filth that she basically had to fuck Bob the drag queen to get it like into RuPaul's Drag Race. And I was like, oh, and what kills it is like the camera, this like second or third cam catches the other queens freaking out about that read.
Like they're all like, ah, like, yes, that.
So, right. You knew that was a thing. Like, I mean, there was one other one which was kind of funny because Monet reads Monique and she's like, girl, you know, don't use hotel lotion for your ass. And I was like, oh, that's an inside black joke. Like,
was that Monet to? Yeah, what? No, it was either Monet to Mystique or Monique
Asia.
To Asia.
Maybe it was Asia that said it.
I know it was said, and I like died because you don't, black people, you don't. You can use it maybe on your hands, but you're not gonna. It does not get rid of the ass. It doesn't. Not all the way.
Yeah. So
shit.
That was the interesting part, to say the least.
It was a.
So I thought that the reading was a sleeper. Snatch Game yet again had train wrecks, and I was just like, what is going on here? Like, so I don't get me wrong, I absolutely really liked what Eureka did for Honey Boo Boo. Knocked that shit out of the park. Wasn't really concerned. Like from the moment I heard who she was doing, like I'm glad that she went that way, because while she wanted to do Divine, she took the note, and the note was, girl, don't do Divine. Like
the note was like, no. They couldn't directly say no, but they pretty much said no in about 50 different ways.
Right. I mean, when RuPaul says to you, okay, now do Divine, like that's the ultimate hint. Like, you are not cut out for this. Don't be doing that.
Don't.
And then so I mean, she did really well. I was pretty much okay with Miss Cracker's Dorothy Parker. There is a bit of a debate, and there's an extra clip that where they're talking in the workroom, I think it is.
Uh-huh.
And I think it just came out today too. And they're having a discussion about older characters that people won't know. And so I think they're kind of having this discussion basically about the fact that Ms. Cracker's doing a character that people are not necessarily familiar with. And yet, like, part of the discussion is, but look at other characters that have been done and they've done really well. So, you know, like Jinx Monsoon does Little Edie. Not necessarily that well known. It opens people up. There's a movie. You can go check it out. Like, you know, this documentary thing. So, I mean, so I understood where Miss Cracker was coming from, which is, well, I think it's a possibility, you know, that it'll be okay. And I thought she did all right. It's just, she's not relevant. And honestly, she looked a lot to me like Audrey Hepburn. So, like, and that's not a read. It was just kind of an aesthetic look of the time period kind of thing that she was going for.
I think given what we know of Ms. Cracker's kind of comedic timing and banter and wit, and she's good with the like quick one-liners, she can throw them right back at you. It seemed like an odd choice. There were so many other people that I think she could have been. I'm not going to throw them out on top of my head, but like there are so many people I think she could have done and done a really good job with that are more current and maybe not even current, but could have been a little bit more, like you said, relevant. And I think I think a lot of us were expecting something else. And while it wasn't bad, it wasn't like over the top, you know, great.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I think she did okay. So, and then, you know, Monet Exchange as Maya Angelou, as Michelle said, you know, from the judges panel, we just had someone do Maya Angelou. This is how you do Maya Angelou, which is funny because they filmed these seasons back to back. So I don't think the current season 10 had any clue what happened on the All-Star season.
Probably not.
So it was a good thing for Michelle to make that statement, even though it meant nothing to anybody but her and Rue and maybe Carson.
Yeah.
You know, like it was really going to be lost on the contestants. It was going to be lost on the guest judges. You know what I mean? Because like nobody had seen All-Stars 3 yet. Now everyone's had that chance to see it.
It made sense to us.
Right. So, I mean, I thought that was a good time plug, like time drop, like reference. So, yes, and I agree that people thought it was funny and she did pretty well. Audra McDonald explaining the resting my eyes thing, I thought was good because it's a cultural reference for a community that I didn't get. Like, I thought it was kind of funny, but I didn't understand that that's a thing.
Yeah.
That gets said. So, and then, so I thought like there was just some train wrecks, and honestly, the biggest train wrecks I thought were Asia as Beyonce, the Vixen as Blue Ivy, and how the two of them talked ahead of time, like how they were going to play the whole thing, and then they didn't do that. Like it was very weird to me. Asia says she's going to let the Vixen take the lead, and then she's going to like chime in, and that didn't seem to happen, at least according to the edit. And then the Vixen was going to like be counting all her money, like playing with it, and that didn't like it was just so weird to me. It was like, all right, you guys talked about some things, and then like that didn't execute, and I don't understand where that kind of and so like, you know, Vixen I think did a better job just trying to respond to Asia, and Asia was just like an angry woman.
I don't get that. Like I said, I didn't, like I was talking about before, I just didn't get it. And I didn't get the, like, I agreed with, I believe it was Monique who kind of said, this is not like, these are not good choices. They're not like, Beyonce's not really known, and Blue Ivy is a baby, or she's young, and no one has seen her really in public. They don't, and the Vixen's all like, well, she has all these faces and all this stuff. Well, faces don't mean anything when you're supposed to be talking, dear. Like, yeah. Like, So it's just it just again it came off as one note, and unfortunately their banter, quote unquote, didn't really go anywhere,
right?
Because it became this like Beyonce's yelling at her child to shut up, basically, and and the child shuts up, and it's
right. Yeah, I mean, it was weird because she was being a harsh parent to her child, and I'm like, this is a problem because you two are trying to play off of each other, and this family dynamic is not really known to my knowledge.
yeah.
So that's a part, like, you're just basically you're improving a lot of stuff that has no basis in reality other than these two people exist. So that was problematic. And then unfortunately, you know, the Maxine Waters character just wasn't delivering. So we've got, you know, this triangle, two on the top row on the ends, and, you know, one towards the middle and on the bottom row. And I'm just like, ew, like this just wasn't working. But you know, but then you did have some people that kind of stood out and did pretty well, and then you have the kind of middle of the pack stuff. So and then we got a mermaid fantasy, and this is the thing I want to say about this. It's so weird to me that it took 10 fucking seasons for us to have a tribute in any way, shape, or form to Bette Midler. Seriously. And it's the Divine Miss M. It's, you know, the everyone's a mermaid. They come out. They have to have a look put together. I will say this, that I thought the comments that were made in Fashion Photo Review with Raja and Aja, I thought were very interesting. Raja is like, okay, so let me say this. Raja's like, I am a huge Madonna fan. I am also a huge something else fan. I forget what it is. And she goes, what you don't know about me is that I'm also a huge mermaid fan. And I have high opinions about this. And she kind of went off on this thing about how, like, it needs to look like you didn't just fucking arts and crafts this shit together. So I was like, oh, all right, well, then there you go. You know, like that's one viewpoint, because I did not necessarily agree with all of their opinions, but when I heard that and then I saw it through from her perspective, I was like, okay, well, I get it.
Yeah. So it's very interesting to me. I love the idea, and I there were a lot of hits and misses for me on those runway looks. A lot of, like, there were some good ones and there were some decent ones, and then there were just some like, what were you thinking kind of things. And
right,
again, choices, as we've learned from Miss Tatiana, there are choices sometimes. So anyway, overall, I feel like it could have been better. I think the issue for me was that they had to do the wheelchairs a lot, and like I respect that and understand that, but it was like, ooh, wow, that kind of it took a little time, but I get why they did it, because they can't really move for him.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to say about those three things?
No.
You ready for Untucked?
Yeah, let's get into Untucked, girl.
Untucked, you're only getting half the story.
Right. So let's talk Snatched. And I don't mean Snatch Game. Let's talk wigs snatched, pearls clutched, like gay gas, crazy, on display, Untucked. I'm gonna let you go first.
Okay. Hold on. So what I wrote down was disloyalty, really queen. I put question marks because here's the thing. There was a lot of, I'll call it hypocrisy, going on between Miss Vixen and everyone else. There's a lot, and I almost wrote, this is what I almost wrote. I wrote Laganja 2.0, because there was a lot of just like accusations being thrown that had no bearing in reality whatsoever. There's a lot of like, so to put it simply, the vixen pretty much called Eureka out on being unprofessional on the stage after when Rue asked the question, who should go home tonight?
Mm-hmm.
So Vixen says that Eureka has been nothing but unprofessional, and she's surprised that no one has seen it, and blah 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 blah, and then they go into Untucked, and she kind of lets it all like hang out. She talks about how, you know, everyone is essentially saying that they don't like Eureka, and they're concerned about her, what she does and what she says and all this stuff, and no one really likes her. And I'm like going, and the queens are going like, I don't recall saying that, and do you? And everyone is pretty much saying, I don't recall ever saying that. And they're not saying it like they're trying to cover up something, you know, like some like they're trying to save, quote unquote, Eureka's feelings or something. They're actually saying, I don't recall ever saying it. And the first person, I think, if I remember correctly, who said it first was Cameron. And I was like, go ahead, Cameron.
Right. Cameron was the first to speak up, because Cameron basically tries to butt in and say, hold up. No. Hold up. Like, I'm going to interrupt you because you are putting words in my mouth that I never said. And so her and Vixen kind of get a little bit into it, because Vixen's like, are you going to let me? Are you going to let me? And I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
I was like, and this is the thing that I've learned in my experience, my work past. At the moment Vixen started behaving that way, I would have just shut up and just let her roll. Like, just let it out, girl. Up to the point of, I might have actually been like, no, everybody, shh, just let her have her moment. Like, say what she's got to say. Everyone pay attention. Because my philosophy is, let the crazy pot boil over. Because that's what that is at that moment is, you are not listening to understand. You are listening to respond, and you're not even doing that. You are like, you are just stewing in pissosity, and you cannot wait to get your words out. And that's a problem. And I was like, and I felt bad for Cameron a little bit, because Cameron was like, wait, hold up. Like, how did I get dragged into this?
Yeah.
But it was because she was part of the all. Like,
yeah.
Vixen said, every single one of you. And that's immediately when it was like, hold up. Like, so Cameron and I think Ms. Cracker both, because they were the only two that were back there initially. Awkward.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing. All right. So I want to sidebar. I want to say this thing for a moment. Poor product placement. That was bullshit. I hated it. The edit for Untucked was annoying the fuck out of me, because if you go back and you watch it, you pay attention that the product placement comes at an awkward moment, and then putting on their tails comes wrong. They put their tails on towards the end, not when they actually put them on. Because if you're watching Miss Cracker's drink, it changes.
Yeah.
And then there's also a moment where Vixen's trying to say something or whatever, and Monet is in the background. You see her in a mirror shot. Like, it's all, I was just like, I was so irritated with this Untucked. I was like, what the fuck? And then on top of it, as Drew had said in the live chat, he said, Untucked ... unhinged.
Oh yeah.
So your point is the Vixen coming off and basically being like, really queen?
And she called everyone, she called like people disloyal. Like she calls out basically Monique and Asia specifically about being disloyal to her by like saying stuff about it. Like, I want to be like, where is this disloyalty? Where is this like potential like backstabbing or whatever? Because I don't see it. I see a lot of queens that have been defending your right to be your don't poke the bear. I'm always at 100, you know, whatever. I'm here to fight, all that shit. They're always there to like kind of not really defend you, but like they respect your choices and they're all like cool with that. And then for you to now jump or go around and you're trying to talk and you cut off Eureka for talking too much. Like you're like it's just it was very hypocritical for me. I think I even wrote it like, you know, like hypocrisy. I wrote it big, like, because it kept I kept getting hit with this, like, you're calling someone out for who says this is her, yet when you say this is me, like, I'm not going to change, blah, 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 blah. Why are you like now with Eureka telling her to like change? And I'm just like, no, like, you can't have it both ways. You can't be yourself and not allow other people to be themselves, no matter what. Because I get it. You and Eureka are pretty much the same kind of person in a lot of ways. And therefore, you guys probably aren't going to get along. So you're probably always going to be butting a little bit, butting heads or what have you.
Well,
I mean, I think they're not exactly the same person. They're not the same person, but they have a lot of similar personality traits. They're outspoken.
Mm-hmm.
I'll use that. Eureka has learned through time, what have you, to calm down sometimes. She's not the same Eureka we knew at the beginning of last season. She's definitely changed in a few ways. I'm not saying she's changed all the way, but she has changed a few ways. And it bothers me. It bothered me that now here we have the Vixen who is, I get that she's flailing because she's in the bottom and she knows that she has the potential for going home, and she's like, what the hell? I know that her defenses are up and she's attacking because she's in a corner, but there's still this whole need for you to be like, hey, calm yourself down. And we had a moment of it. Right. And then just like that, gone. I was so pissed at that.
Well, yeah, I mean, she has room for growth. I guess I'll put it that way. Yeah, I mean, like, for me, Snatched, this whole thing, Untucked, it was all about the Vixen fight. I don't like the fact that it was about it, but that's kind of what everyone's going to remember, and that's what they're going to focus on. The spotlight's going to be on her. She got a video from home. It really 180 flipped her emotional state, and she went from being angry to crying and being upset. And then she admits to the rest of the queens that her lashing out isn't really about being angry at them. It's about the fact that she's upset because she feels they all said that she wasn't good enough, that she's like, and that's where I was like, and boom, there are the emotions. Like now we kind of understand how she works. I mean, it's really kind of interesting. So when I watched the show and then I watched Untucked, Chris D and I, who's been on the season with us on T-Time, were live chatting like as the show was airing, because I was watching it live here at home. So I was like, okay. So I was like, where's it at? Because I'm scrolling through real quick. And so this kind of shows like that. I'll just read the back and forth so you can kind of understand. Let's see. We were talking about who might be in the tops, who might be in the bottom based on the Snatch game. Oh fuck, I gotta remember to bring that up later. So there was we were like, because we didn't know what the runway was, so we were like, guessing. Monet's putting scars on her face. Is it Death Becomes Her? I wonder if it's political. What's going on? Oh my god, it's mermaid fantasy. So we go through this, and then all of a sudden we both go into all caps, and it's like, stop talking, Vixen. She needs to shut up. Like, I mean, like, and this is the runway. Like, we haven't even gotten to Untucked. This is the runway when she starts coming unhinged. And her and Eureka go back and forth on the runway.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, Rue is not having it. Because her almost her exact words were, okay. And then and I was like, oh, here we go. I'm like, that's not working. So then anyways, we're in the Untucked stuff, and I was explaining to him about like the edit and stuff, and I was kind of annoyed. And then we were talking about that the judges are catching up to what they see off stage. So we've been seeing the Vixen all the season, and only the judges get to see what happens on the runway. And then all of a sudden, they're kind of like, "Oh, well, who's this feisty bitch?" Like,
yeah.
And then there was something about what was said. Oh, and then I said, Vixen is a hypocrite for saying Eureka is full tilt, yet she doesn't see that in herself. And that's what our live chat is. People are talking about. They're like, she told people that she didn't change for no one, but yet tells Eureka that she needs to change who she is. And then I love this because this is from Drew. He's like, she got on Cracker for walking away during a conversation because it said it was childish, but then did the same damn thing, left the conversation because she was done with it.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but like hypocritical is like the word that consistently describes her, that she's just,
that was the biggest thing for me, was the fact that she just like kept, and then like she walked away, like, cause I had to learn, I remember she walked away once and then she came back and had blah, 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 blah bullshit to say. And then she left again, and then they brought her back because they probably had the video ready, and she sat down. And then they watched the video. And for those who haven't seen Untucked, it's the Vixen's mother, I believe.
Right.
And it's emotional. And I'm glad she had that moment. And again, everyone is understanding. They know how it feels. They respect, they get it. And she says, like, and Vixen says, like, you know where I get my fight from? It's from my mom. And, she's crying, and, she realizes that she's crying because she doesn't cry because he's sad. She cries because he's like happy or whatever. And then like I said, almost on a dime, like a turn, she suddenly goes from like emotional, and then she gets up and walks away. And I forget what she says, but she says something to the point of like, I'm not leaving yet. This is my end, walks away. And I'm just like, okay, you go ahead and do you. I almost wanted to say, in the words of Miss Alexa Mateo, to maybe I'm first, act a fool, girl, act a fool.
Well, and then like Drew said, and he put it in the live chat because he said it in our COLDR entourage chat. He pointed out, she, being Vixen, boldly stated that she would not let anyone make her out to be an angry black woman, and that she turned herself right into one on screen.
Yeah, on her own. And I will
right on camera, just like,
and
I was like, oh, I can't.
And I'm trying not to like put that out there, but she was saying, like the thing that happened obviously with Untucked with her and Aquaria, like a few episodes ago. I got that because that's the issue. This time, she kind of did it, like I said, like Drew said, she did it to herself. She did it to herself by saying all of this random stuff that made no sense, that had no basis, again, in reality, potentially, and like I said, she was angry. I get, and she was sad, and she was, she's backed in a corner. She knows she's going to be in the bottom, blah, blah, blah. I get it. You're retaliating, you're reacting because you're all of that you've put into this is potentially going to go away. I get it. Totally get it.
Right.
But there was another way to do this. I think she chose the wrong words when she was talking about Eureka. Don't call it unprofessionalism, because I don't think it was unprofessionalism, because bitch, we in a contest. And if you're the goal of Untucked, or not Untucked, of Snatch Game is to make Rue laugh.
Right. And part of it is the banter, like the interplay. So Aquaria and like Eureka both were able to make responses and say things and tag off of other things that other people were saying or doing.
Yeah.
As part of their character. And that's what's expected. Like that's why you really have to have ingrained who your person is. And so I agree with you that unfortunately the Vixen was the victim in this case, in that she lost perspective. When they had that conversation and she stepped outside those walls and talked about narrative and characterization and this kind of stuff, and she said about like, oh, but because I made her cry, like, I'm the evil one or whatever.
Uh,
It was a beautiful moment. I feel bad for her that she lost perspective, that she was so wrapped emotionally instead of thinking about it logically. Like, girl, how you going to look? Like, how you going to look to everybody else in this moment going off on this, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and I get it. I got it. You thought you were going to do better and you didn't. But again, that all comes down to the choices you made. I don't know why you would choose that character, that person to portray. This person that we have nothing to go on. And I mean like nothing. Like I'm not saying I'm like following all the stuff, but it's a child. And whereas you have Honey Boo Boo who had her own fucking show, you know, like you have all this stuff that can go along with it and go with it. You know, you have, other than the fact that she's Beyonce's daughter, there's not much else. She's not old enough yet to be like, I've got my own fashion line, or I'm doing my own thing, or I'm an actor. I mean, she could be potentially an actress on a show. Who knows? But you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing else there.
And like, as Drew points out, like the whole end of this issue with the Vixen ends up warning the rest of the girls and basically says to camera, like, she's not going anywhere and that she's coming for them. Like, it is now war. And that's where I'm like, oh, well, that means the next episode is going to be beautiful to watch, because the rest of the girls are going to be like, bye, girl. Like, it's not All Stars 3 where they get to vote your ass out, but they're already voting your ass out. Like, they don't want to play with you, don't want to interact with you, unless maybe in the next week, like, she somehow, you know, cathartically calms herself down and gets it and grovels or makes amends. I don't know. Like, it's just, anything's possible. But I'm just like, yeah, as of where we left off at, it was a bit of a cliffhanger, basically, where it was like, all right, well, you kind of sealed your own deal, and that's unfortunate. And you should go talk to all the rest of the angry queens that have been on this seasons and past, because they lose bookings and they get viewed a certain way, and you know, it's not good for them.
Yeah. Oh well.
So yeah. You ready for our next thing?
Time is come. Ready to lip sync for your life. Luck and don't fuck it up.
Yes, don't fuck it up. Wise words to live by. And yet we are human beings and we make mistakes. So the first thing I want to say is Chester unfortunately wasn't able to be with us, but the one thing I do know is that he had, for our snaps and eye rolls, he had eye rolls for the Vixen's hypocrisy.
Yep.
Which we just got done discussing. So I think all three of us are on the same page when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So David, what are your snaps in this case?
So my snaps, actually, I know you weren't the biggest fan of a lot of, but we did touch on a couple of these. My fan were the best reads of the reading challenge, reading is funny middle challenge. First one is to Monet's, because we talked about it already. The whole like to Miss Cracker about, you know, fucking Bob directing. I'm like, yes. Everyone reacted. I loved it. I honestly was surprised that she didn't win the mini challenge based solely on that, because that was like everybody like busted out, laughing, gone, done. However, the winner of the mini challenge was Eureka. I don't think this was the reason why she won, but it was one of the ones that like track hit for me. It's like she had two for me. The first one was obviously the one that everyone kind of laughed at, and it wasn't really a read, and it was to Cameron. He's like, I don't want to read you, please just fuck me. And I'm like, yes, like it just fuck me. I'm like, I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. I just because it was totally out of like the whole, you know, it's not really a read. It's just, and she pointed out that it's not a read. She just
right.
Yeah.
She couldn't read her because she wants fucked by her. She said it 3 times. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, girl, now you looking thirsty. Like, and I don't even think it's thirsty. I can't describe, like, you acted like Crystal Light is Kool-Aid, like, not the same thing, girl. Like, no. Like, we knew you were thirsty to begin with in like the first episode or second episode when they were like, who brought all this trade in here? Because you and Mayhem Miller wanted to pounce on that boy and do all sorts of nutty things.
Yeah.
So yeah, when that came up in the reading challenge, I was like, I mean, I was so amused, but I was like, with you, I was like, that's good. And not a read.
Yeah,
good.
It was good. It made me laugh, and it made her laugh, and that's all that matters, and that's why she won. There's that. So, yeah. Okay. Eye roll time. I think I've said this pretty much at least once every season so far that we've been doing this show. Learn your fucking words. I don't care what the fuck. Learn your fucking words.
And here's my thing. It's not even shade. Like, it's not even shade worthy, but I don't have anything else. Like, I don't have a fan that says, you done fucked up.
Yes.
Or you forgot the number 1 rule. Or, I mean,
rule number 1, learn your fucking words. Like, okay. So we all know who went home. It was Monique. And and I will say, this is the only reason she went home. Is because she did. Jim just said it. She didn't know her fucking words. And that is true. That is the only reason why she didn't go home. That's why she went home instead of Vixen. Because she didn't know the words. And her wig came off. But mostly, she didn't know the song. And I do not buy her excuse. She was up all night sewing her mermaid. Okay. Well, you didn't really do that good on the mermaid either. So maybe you should have split the difference and maybe put some earphones in, had the iTunes on, had the words over here, work the sewing machine. I mean, you can listen to music and or had it playing while you're sewing. Like, come on.
Well,
if you could
so here's the thing is, like James says in our live chat, does she not learn anything from Valentina? Well, she did learn a little from Valentina. She learned a lot from Charlie Hides because she does say, well, America can give this to me. The bitch did not just stand there. Like,
true.
She shimmied, she shook, she wiggled, she walked around. Like, so yeah, she did do that. But I'm okay. I don't have any issue with her saying that she didn't learn the words because she was up late the previous night working on her mermaid outfit, presumably in her hotel room is the way I take it. And she was like hand sewing and blah, blah, blah. All right, that's fine. Where I have the issue though is the Vixen knew she was in the bottom 2. And she had an iPod and earbuds in her hand practically from the moment she walked back stage.
Yeah.
So that's the part that bothered me about Monique is I was like, if you had put in as much effort as the Vixen did, and then didn't know the words, we would all probably be very confused and very gagged and still very upset.
Yeah.
That you didn't know the words. But it appears to me you didn't really put the effort in to learn the words when you had the time that very moment before going on stage. That's the part that confused me the most is I'll grant you that you didn't have time the night before, like, because word has it that they get the music like once they arrive in LA, they're told what the songs are potentially, but they don't know what week. And then apparently back in Willem's season, they changed the song like the day of or something like that. Like, okay, fine. Like production can make last minute changes, that kind of shit. I don't care about that. And then I know some people were kind of reading the fact that it was Carly Rae Jepsen, who I'm not really familiar with, and I don't know this song. And people were like, it's a Carly Rae Jepsen song. It has like 6 words and they repeat a lot. Like, it's not that hard. So I was like, yeah, like I think, she unfortunately has coming to her a lot of, criticism. And I agree with you, that learning your words is one aspect of it. Well, right. Yeah, it is fundamental. Like, and that's the downside, unfortunately, is I think if she had put in the effort to know the words, like, oh hell, and her name just went out of my head. Supposedly Alyssa Edwards' mortal enemy.
Coco Montrese.
When Coco Montrese, during her lip sync, like, did this whole routine and like pointed to her mouth and knew every single syllable of every single word. And didn't necessarily dance and prance a whole lot. I think if that had been the effort in the lip sync, then the vixen would have looked more a fool doing sushi roll, like almost knocking lights out on the stage, kind of. You know, almost like temper tantrum gymnastic shit.
Yeah, it just came off as, I don't want to say give up. I don't think she gave up. I don't want to give her that, but I feel like she was feeling defeated, and because of that, it just left her like, I'm not gonna do anymore. I have nothing else to give. And I can understand that. I can respect it to a point. I just feel like this is a big thing. This is a big deal. This is a big challenge. And this is something that I feel like you could have done more. Like she owns that she necessarily didn't do her homework fully on Maxine Waters. She owns that she didn't know the words. And I'm glad that she's owning it. Because that's the one thing I will say, that the reason this is, the learn the words is the eye roll, just because I feel like that is like a fundamental part of this show.
Right.
The fact that she owns it gives to me enough credibility for me to go, okay, at least you've done wrong.
And I will say this. She made a decision to not quit. She said backstage she knew she was going to lose. And so, like, one of the things I said to Christy in our live chat was she gave up. Like, she legitimately just was defeated, deflated, like, didn't have the energy, and just kind of wanted it to be over, I think. And so once you kind of start down that path, it is very difficult to pull yourself back out of it. And I don't necessarily recall anybody being there, like, pumping her up. Like, Eureka was pumping up Miss Cracker last week when Miss Cracker thought she was going to be in the bottom two, and then she wasn't. So, like, that's kind of telling a little bit that, like, you didn't have a party of people around you. Like, that was a little odd to me. I mean, maybe everybody was still shook from the fight and, you know, and what happened, and they were just like, everybody stay in your respective space. Don't nobody go nearby nobody else, and don't nobody talk to nobody else. You know what I mean? It was just like, just everybody, you know, breathe. Don't do nothing. I don't know. So
maybe it was just one of those things where she may have had like someone around her or someone said something to her. We just didn't see it. Like, that's the only thing I could think of. That fight took a lot of time out of the whole 30-minute episode, 30-ish or 20-ish minutes episode that we get. And I value Monique. I loved Monique, actually. I thought she was very funny and very creative. But then as we got along week by week, I was noticing some of the cracks. This whole, like, she builds everything the night of, or the 30 minutes before. And she didn't bring a whole lot. She brought a whole lot of fabric, but she didn't bring a whole lot of looks. It just showed to me that there was not a lot of thought into everything. Like,
well, I think what she was saying is a lot of these queens, or currently the state of Drag Race, notably, because it's not always been this way. In season 10, a lot of people did a lot of preparation. I mean, look at what happened in Untucked. They pulled back the curtain a little bit. I was shocked to hear Cameron and Miss Cracker talk openly, and that they showed it. Both of them were talking about how much money they spent to be on the show.
Yeah.
And what got awkward about it is it turned into a weird verbal, like, game, like, of one-upsmanship about how much money they spent, and Cameron was like, I spent more money on coming on this season than I did for the down payment on my house. And then Biz Cracker's like, I spent more on this than I did going to college. Crickets.
Wow.
Like, it just
Wow.
like she mic dropped it, and it was really weird because then I was like, oh, that's not awkward. Like like you just basically said you spent thousands upon thousands upon thousands of fucking dollars. And even Monique kind of made reference, I don't know if it was this episode, another episode, about she didn't spend $10,000 on a gown or whatever, which I was like, who the fuck spent 10K on it? Anyways, I haven't seen a gown yet that I think qualifies for 10K, not even on Rue. Thank you very much, Salty. So anyways, I'm just like, I don't know about that. But yeah, I thought that was amazing. Like, they kind of had this very frank talk about the fact that money is part of the thing that you need to have. And Monique was basically trying to be the other voice, saying, I came with passion and energy and skill. And so when I take that into account, there is a part of me that's like, girl, you got pretty damn far.
Yeah.
If that's really what the playing field is about right now, that you brought bolts and bolts and bolts of fabric and crafts and all sorts of shit, like, to make things out of, and was using stuff in the room where a lot of other people were, you know, were taking things they already had prepared and just modifying.
Yeah.
So,
we know they get, like, they know to prepare. We know for a fact that they get a list of everything kind of that's going to go on. So and sometimes they get who they're choosing and all that stuff. So I can get that, and I can see that being where money becomes a factor. Because if I don't have a mermaid look, I'm going to either have to make it or buy it.
Right. And that was some of the criticisms in the Raja and Aja like fashion photo review video on YouTube, where some of it did seem a little arts and crafts, and, you know, some of it kind of got read a little bit. There was some mixing and matching, like the tops don't match the bottoms, things of that nature. So yes, I will say that it appeared some queens spent a lot of money and some queens didn't necessarily spend a lot of money. And
some queens spent a lot of money and didn't get what they were supposed to get.
Oh, well, that's true. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of interesting, that whole kind of sub thread about, you know, what it takes to be on the show and that kind of stuff. So maybe in a way, if Monique had been on an earlier season when this financial backing basically kind of sub thread was not as severe, yeah, she probably could have done better and made it to like top 3, top 4. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it is interesting. And as of course Ginger reminds us, Monique did bring glitter and Jesus to the show.
And I love actually James's question, and I'm going to read it because it says, so question, why didn't Monique make some of the things ahead of time? That is a really good question when you think about.
Don't have an answer, but I will say this: Adore Delano for All-Star Season 2 revealed in a video where she said she basically had 14 days from the day she got the call till the day she arrived. And so I'm not going to say that's always the case, but that's a really, really fucking tight window to pull shit together. And that explains why Blair St. Clair had the feather dress that a lot of people had some opinions about. And then you find out that, like, it's her favorite gown because her mother helped her make it literally the night before she left, because the gown that she purchased or requested to be made didn't arrive. So she still had to go to LA. Like, so I'm like, yeah, if you only have a couple of weeks, let's say 3 to 4 weeks, if that's not a whole lot of time to pull together like 20 some looks,
especially if you're not a show queen and you have like a regular job, or if you're taking care of other things and taking care of other people, and honestly, you have to realize they sometimes have to be discreet about what they need this for. There's probably something in the non-disclosure that probably they have to be really careful about. Like, if I go to, Miss So-and-so and I need a mermaid gown or mermaid something made, they're going to ask, what's that for?
Well, and here's the thing is, there's a lot of queens who know a lot of things. There's a podcast I listen to. These two queens have known for 2 or 3 seasons now who some of the cast members are that are going to be on the upcoming season. Like, there's a lot of stuff that gets discussed online, and there's also just like a lot of like hints. Like, when queens disappear for 6 to 8 weeks at a time,
yeah,
especially working queens, like there's an issue. I know someone who told me that they know a designer who has made outfits for Rue girls that have for them going on the show.
Yeah.
And that this person is in such high demand that multiple girls have approached this person at the same time for the same season. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. So what cracks me up is this person was basically like, I've known for 2 seasons now who's already going to be on the show just because I happen to know who the designer is. Like, this person, not that the designer's blabbering their mouth, but like, you know, when someone shows up that they've never really seen or heard of before,
and all of a sudden they need these 3 dresses,
right?
And like, can you rush these? I need these in like 2 weeks. Why do you need them in 2 weeks? Oh, I know why you need them in 2 weeks, honey. I know exactly why you need them in 2 weeks.
Right.
RuPaul's Drag Race.
Right. I got to do a show. Yeah, as in a whole season. So no, I mean, I think they bring up really good points, you know, in the live chat. James is like, I mean, if she knew that she had to do a mermaid look, why didn't she make it before she went on the show? I don't know. I mean, I think she did what she could, but here's what the Raja and Aja discussion really gave me as a takeaway. Some people just aren't as imaginative. Like, they just don't have the creativity that others do when it comes to things. And so I agree with Michelle, like on, you know, Monique specifically, from the waist down and from like here up. She was like, those are 2 things. They're kind of separated, but they kind of work together. It's the midsection that just is not, what did she say? It looks like the mother of the bride kind of dress or something, like top or whatever. And I got it. Like, I understood basically. Michelle was like, you know, it kind of looks like those fashion panel game things, you know, like where you take the panel pieces and you swap them out, and then you take the, you know, the little charcoal crayon or whatever, and you kind of like make a new thing. That's kind of what it feels like. And so to me, it really, it kind of just brings an interesting focus point about how fair is it? And we don't really have an answer to this question. I'm just going to ask it to just get it out of my head. How fair is it when a queen shows up and has to make everything or nearly make everything versus queens who come, like, I'm just going to say it. Aquaria came with that shit. She did not dip herself in tar. Yeah. She did not, you know, melt latex to make that outfit. She paid for it. Yeah. Probably with her soul. So, but, you know, that's a couture look that cost money to have. So yeah, I mean, there's a thing where I'm kind of like, maybe this is an interesting point where we're kind of talking a little bit more about the imbalance. I think about Bianca Del Rio. Bianca Del Rio got chastised that she made the same damn outfit, and Bianca's like, I made the same damn outfit 12 times in a row. You can read me all you want, and I still won $100,000. So shut the fuck up.
Basically.
Which I think is funny, but what's interesting about it is I'm wondering if these challenges have kind of been crafted in a way as a lesson to avoid that happening again.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Yeah. So what about you, Gary? What are
all right,
your
so yeah, my snaps and eye rolls. My snaps are really quick and easy. It's underestimated Aquaria. I did not expect her to do as well as she did in Snatch Game. I will own that the first time I watched it live and I was chatting with Chris, I was just not down with it. I was like, okay, whatever, boring. Like, I'm not really getting it. Melania, yeah, you don't have a personality. We guess Melania doesn't have a personality. Like, whatever. But then when I went and watched it again the next day, I was like, wow, it's almost a masterclass in fucked up genius. To take a strength, which is you don't have a personality very well, and you don't know what to think necessarily. So you relied on a lot of nuances of things that was really kind of off the cuff. Yeah. So like, I completely missed the first time I watched it that her name placard, when you very first see her, said Michelle Obama.
Yes.
I missed that.
I saw that. I
was like, oh my God, that's funny. Like, that's fucked up, but it's funny. And then the Tiffany's box could have been done a little better. The Tiffany's box looked like shit, by the way. And I don't know if that was intentional, but I was like, what the hell? You know, and so there was just little things like that, but she got some good zingers in as quips about her husband and politics. Like, so she did really well that way. And she did really well because she was the opposite of Eureka's Honey Boo Boo. Honey Boo Boo was just loud and obnoxious and, you know, crazy, kind of over the top, like constantly like scene stealing, as Eureka tends to do. And Aquaria as Melania was very like internal and very quiet. And so I was like, wow, that's interesting. So
it was very much to me like a Sasha Velour, Marlena Dietrich. It was a very nuanced, still funny, but nuanced character that just by doing some smaller things, that's what made it funny. That's what made it enjoyable and pleasant. It's things that we think about or we've, you know, only heard rumor about or hearsay about in regards to Melania. You know, the whole help me thing was like, I was like that. I laughed my ass off because it just, we feel like she's, you know, captive or whatever, you know, and it just, it's almost,
And then the other thing that I underestimated was her fucking runway look. The moment she came out in the wheelchair, I gasped. And I was like, holy shit. She's making a political statement, yet serving high fashion. Like, and all these queens keep talking about that she's the first queen ever that's gone on with wet hair. And I'm like, well, to be fair, she's the most realistic portrayal, as in if you literally found a mermaid and took her out of the water, like, she's not going to be beautiful. That's what I liked about Asia's. I do want to say this. Asia's interpretation, I don't have a problem with wearing a mask. I know it was very like, you know, Valentina. Issue driving for people because they were like, you weren't showing your face, you were hiding, blah, blah, blah. But I like the fact that she was like, who says that mermaids are beautiful? Who says that, like, you know, she's like, I think they could be ugly. Like, as in, like, they're a sea creature. So what makes you think that, like, they're going to have the face of a goddess or whatever, which I thought was kind of fair. But then at the same time, I was like, yes, but like, you probably could have done more with the outfit. like, you know, because you were really serving lionfish-ish as opposed to mermaid in a way. Anyways. So yeah, no, I thought Aquaria was underestimated. So those are my snaps. And then my eye rolls are to Asia's Beyonce. We've already discussed it. There isn't really anything else other than to say that, like, okay, actually, hang on, because it's back in the chat. It's over here because I actually wrote it somewhere else. Beyonce should sue Asia. That's how bad it was.
Wow.
I was like, girl, that's defamation of character. That is against the law. You're asked to go to jail for that. You should know better. You're a pageant queen. I don't know what you're thinking.
Wow.
It was bad. So bad.
That my big thing, like everyone, like my biggest, like, what the fuck was her long ass answer to the question. And then she like throws it back and she's like I won or whatever. And I'm just like, no, you lost. Dear,
and that's where I was like, I think you misjudged Beyonce, because while Beyonce can be called Queen Bee and everyone thinks that like she's a ball buster and all this kind of stuff, and what you had to say was kind of funny because I got where she was going with it. The zinger at the end about how she won, like she's right, and I was like, oh yeah, that didn't play the way you wanted it to. I think what you mean is because of all that, you won at life.
Yeah.
You won in a relationship, not you won the game or you won the question.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, because I'm pretty sure Beyonce is a collaborator. So that's where this kind of fell apart, because she probably has a whole team. She probably has a house like Gaga. Like, you know, they all work together and they make her a success. So
yeah.
So those are my stats. Are you ready to move on?
Yeah, girl.
Gentlemen, start your engines and may the best woman win.
All right, may the best woman win. So it's last call, Damon. What are your final impressions?
So I'm just going to put this point blank in period. I feel like someone's time is up, and that someone is the vixen. I feel like I have had personally enough of this. I'll call it this time this hypocritical nature, but this very much antagonistic, like always at 100, you know, boiling over mad kind of bullshit kind of thing. And I'm over it officially. I've had it officially with this whole like thing. I don't if there's something there to redeem, it needs to show its face very, very, very soon. Because I'm not having it anymore.
Mhm.
Like I loved that, you know, I think it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago or whatever, where we had a vixen free Untucked for a while.
Mhm.
And I liked that because it wasn't all about her for once. But this past one and the ones before and all the stuff and her, the way she talked on the runway, it just let the judge, like you said, it let the judges see a little bit more of her true colors. And I don't think they're gonna like that for much longer. I can honestly see her going home. That's me. I feel like unless something miraculous happens in this share musical whatever, I don't see her lasting too much longer, if at all. Which will be good because I think everyone kind of needs a breather from that negativity.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Drew says, preach, Damon.
Yeah.
If she has a come to share Jesus moment. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So my last call, my final thoughts are these. This show was full of hashtags. And I don't need the hashtags that Rue announces, like hashtag drag race. And I noticed that's a new thing this season. She just keeps hashtagging drag race. They've dropped the every episode has multiple different hashtags.
Yeah.
Like it used to be the mini challenge had a hashtag, the maxi challenge had a hashtag, the runway had a hashtag. Like now all she ever seems to say is hashtag drag race.
Hashtag.
But I came up with 4 hashtags while watching the show that I wanted to try to discuss quickly. But the first one I know is going to be controversial. But this is something that was actually said in the show. So
yeah,
there you go. Hashtag making coin off white guilt.
Bitch.
When the vixen talks about that, I thought that was very revealing. That Monique was talking about how she's aware of it, but she tries to like avoid it as an issue. And, you know, she kind of has some personal conflict internally about it. And then the vixen turns around while they're getting ready in the mirror and says, yeah, but girl, if you know how to do it right, like you can make some coin off white guilt.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that shit right there is
wow.
God. Like, and I don't know how I feel 100% about it right now. And even when it was at the moment when it was said, I was like, ooh. And I wanted to say, girl, don't reveal our secrets, honey. Don't
don't reveal our secrets.
Because sometimes like it's, I'm not saying, but anyway, it was just I got it, and it was a controversial. It could potentially be controversial.
All I got to say is that alone could be a focus of a dissertation for a PhD from a drag race perspective. So there you go. My second hashtag is Ursula cousin twice removed. This comes from Eureka when she does her runway.
Yeah.
Now, I will agree with Raja and Aja on this. Like, actually, I thought Eureka from here up looked really good. And I thought that the fin on her mermaid outfit was great. But the cutouts, like with the black, I don't know what that was. It looked bad. Like the bustier, like this kind of looked pretty good. I was not a fan of the red, like
the blood coming
capsule blood thing or whatever. Like I get what she was saying because in the voiceover we understand what she's going for, but as a judge I would have been like, what are you like? Girl, did you bite your lip? Like what the hell just happened? So yeah, that was kind of like a weird kind of a mystery thing. But when she said I'm gonna be Ursula's cousin twice removed, I was like, oh, all right. She's like, yes, I'm a mermaid, I'm a fish, and I fucking eat things, like, you know, bloody things. And I was like, oh, alrighty then. That's what
it makes sense.
Yeah. And then this one I came up with, and it's hashtag no redo on Snatch Game, like no redux. And this comes from the discussion point about Maxine Waters and Beyonce, and how Baru was like, I was trying to give you guys hints. This was mostly to Asia about how to take the angle on Beyonce. Now do you get it? And Asia was like, yes, can we redo it? And even Monique was like, praise girl, like, yes, let's just go right back and we'll redo it. And I said to Chris D, I was like, hashtag no redo on Snatch Game. That's not how it works.
That's not how it works. You get one shot of adrenaline.
Exactly. It was like, no, that's not how it happens. And then I'm gonna end with the last most famous hashtag from this season, because this is one of my favorite things of all, and it ranks right up there with Tatiana's choices.
Yep.
So there are catchphrases that come across, and so Monique Hart will always be known forever and ever as saying, "Facts are facts."
Mm-hmm. And facts are facts.
Yes, girl. Facts are facts, and you should know them better.
Yeah.
For your next round of Snatch Game, because I predict you may very well come back for All Stars 4, whenever the fuck that's going to happen. Hopefully not next year.
God, girl.
I know I need a break. So yeah.
Facts are facts, I think, is one of the most, it's a good one, and I like it, especially in this day and age, and with everything that we've, has been going on with, with alternative facts and what have you. This is one of those things where I'm like, yeah, and facts are facts. And this, and like I said before, I love Monique. I love her. I'm sad that she's gone, only because I feel she had this really wonderful personality, and I will admit, like, she had the heart. I feel like she was a very beautiful. She was real when she needed to be real. She was heartful when she needed to be heartful. She was cutty when she needed to be cutty. Like, she had all of that in her, and it worked out to be this real balanced kind of person. And I love when, as we were just now starting to see some of her vulnerability as well.
Right. No, and so I do agree that she brought a lot to the season in particular, and she was the heart of the season in some ways. So yes, I'm like, I will say this, like, I was a fan of hers from the moment she showed up on the season, because I was like, who is this loud bitch? And I don't mean it like obnoxious. She's so vocal. She not only has quips, and she has wit and sayings and like statements and hashtags and like phrases. Like, it's not just that, it's literally that she is a non-stop running of the mouth. Like, and not in an annoying way where she's just like, she's got statements galore, and then she just utters, like, her feelings come out as vocalizations. And one of my favorite things about Monique is that she screams. Like, like, I get that, there's this whole thing about, queens trying to make their mark, and Sasha Velour showed up, at season 9 and walked in and just screamed. Yeah. And, when she took the crown, she was like, you just need to, call attention to things. But I love how Monique was just like, ah! Like, I mean, she was just crazy, kind of crazy loud. So, I mean, if there was anything that I would say that kind of personifies a Muppet, I think Monique is it. And I don't mean that to be shady. I love her. And I think she's just kind of like wild and crazy and, and fun that way. Very playful, very playful. Yeah. So, it made perfect sense why she came out as Cookie Monster. I mean, come on. So, yeah. I am kind of bummed, because we did have a discussion that she's going to be in Cincinnati next week for the Hard Candy show, and unfortunately it's a school night, and it's just kind of not lining up, and I'm like, oh, because it's a drag race show night, and I'd love to go see her, like, now that we know she's not on the season, and it'll be 2 weeks after she's left, like, oh, I bet she's got some things to say. So
I will very much, I'm gonna consider it, because it's just because it's local. It's just going to be a matter of getting there and all that stuff. And I'm thinking about it. I love to go with people so you can get a table and sit. Right. But if I can't do all that, I'll be fine.
No, I understand. So that being said, that's pretty much the show. Now, I don't personally have something on at this moment, but we do have a COL drag race merch section at our zazzle.com / Cubs Out Loud store, where we have our, COL logo, but it has a little crown. It says drag race. So if you would like to see that, I just needed to be an asshole and show off my shirt today that I have, because I know that it's really going to annoy the piss out of Damon, because, I went and saw COL, who is a queen as far as I'm concerned. So this is from his Forbidden Tour. It actually has like the cities and stuff listed on the back. So yeah, there's that. So it is sort of drag related, but anyways, it's not one of our things in terms of the drag race stuff. That being said, if you want to get in touch with us, there's lots of ways to do it. When it comes to our website /blog, you can go to cubsoutloud.com. You can send us an email at cubsoutloud@gmail.com. Tell us what you think. Agree, disagree, tell us we're full of shit, that we don't know what we're talking about, or you agree with everything that we say and we're fabulous. We love it. You can also call us and leave a ring-a-ding. You can leave a voicemail message at 361 COL talk. That's 361-265-8255. Social media wise, Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus, you name it. Pretty much just type in Cubs Out Loud as one word. Telegram is our social network chat platform. On there, you can type in this link to join our drag race only discussion, which is tinyurl.com/telegram. That's TELEGRAM hyphen in all caps COLDR. And we currently have, I think, 16 or 17 people in there. And what we're doing is we're tracking when everybody says they're caught up and they've actually watched both the show and Untucked for that week. It's usually about 48 hours. We kind of like a blackout silence kind of thing. Like we don't discuss the show. And woo, girl, this week, once we lifted that, that moment, we were like, okay, everybody has officially caught up. My Telegram blew the fuck up because everybody had shit they wanted to say. I was like, damn. All right.
Yep.
So you can join some of that fun if you want. And as Chester points out, one of the things we also do is we kind of put in like links to videos and interviews and other stuff. So people kind of know about other things that are happening within the drag universe. So it's not just about the season, it's about a lot of stuff. Yeah. Also, if you would like to support us, I mentioned that you could get a product from Zazzle.com, or you could go to Patreon. Patreon.com/CubsOutLoud, and you could become a patron, which is to subscribe to us and help support us with what we're doing. We would appreciate it very much. As far as the podcast goes, here on YouTube, obviously you can find us just typing in Cubs Out Loud. If you don't happen to see us live, or you catch it because of a hashtag, hi, welcome to seeing us for the first time.
Hi.
If you would be interested, we also do have an audio version, an RSS feed of the podcast. So anything that's a podcast player, be it iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Podcasts, that kind of stuff, you just type in Cubs Out Loud and you'll be able to find us. We intermingle these COL DR T-Time shows with the regular series. So if this is all you want, obviously when the other show shows up, you can just get rid of it. Don't tell Jeff I said that. Or you could listen and get an earful and hear about something that has nothing to do with drag, but sometimes has drag droppings in it. Like this week when my co-host decided to make fun of me because I was having technical problems showing up on camera. So when I finally joined the show, all I can hear is them saying my name like the epitomis, Miss Fangie.
That's scary.
Fangie. Only they kept saying Gary. And I was like, really, bitches? That being said, if you want to get in touch with me personally, you can reach out to find me online. I go by Garbear73. That's GARBEAR73. Pretty much on a lot of different social media stuff. So feel free to reach out and let me know that this is how you're getting in touch with me because of the drag race stuff.
Yeah.
Damon?
If you want to reach out and touch me, give me a ring-a-ding at Theater Cup 79 on Tumblr, Growler, etc. Bear dating sites, or you can find me as pup_umbra. That's UMBRA on the Twitter.
Yes, as James points out, also in the Zazzle store, you could go COL drag purse first. Because we have purses and clutches in there with our logo on it. Because what else would we be? That being said, we're going to wrap up and exit to this season's exiting song, which happens to be Take Me to the Moon. Have a good one, everybody.